Hi, everybody. Welcome to today's episode of Live Feature Rant. I am actually in the middle of a 30-hour birthday marathon right now, so I've been
So
up.
Two more hours till you're done.
Yeah, so let me put it this way. I'm going for 30 hours. OBS hasn't crashed once, and it says 21 hours and 36 minutes right now, so. Yeah, I'm in the final stretch here. But, if anyone's tuned into the channel here while the
this
Landmark Live
should
was
be
going on,
entertaining is all get out.
yeah. So, um, we've got all sorts of stuff to talk about, but first, let's do our little introductions here. So, you of course know who I am, Legendary Neurotoxin. All sorts of shows, Live Feature Rant, Dead Feature Rant, Castles and Crapjacks, Procedural Powerhouses, Unity Daily, Steam Daily coming here pretty soon, and more. Yeah, I know, Adam. If you had some, if your internet would behave, I'm sure you'd be doing some broadcasts too. But yeah, Adam, what have you been up to recently?
Eh,
Just same old, same old.
been able to find chests in game this week, so I'm very happy about that. Now that they've been resetting the game
Yeah.
every day at 5 a.m. their time. So trees and plants and chests are all respawning at least once a day now. So still haven't found a belt of Zephyr yet, but
It'll at least be a little easier
Oh,
now.
yeah, exactly. I am back like I'm starting to see potions again, and the mix has been better again. So I don't know if my luck's just
Cool
been
deal.
better, but
Well, I think they said that today's update they're actually bringing back the proper respawning of
yeah,
props
that's
and
what it
such. So
sounded like. Yeah, so
yeah,
I look forward to that. But other than that, I've been tinkering with Star Citizen a bit. I hate to admit on another show, but I've been playing with that a little bit this week, and that's been about it.
it looks like a really cool game. If I guess if I wasn't burnt out on the whole like space capitalism from Eve, maybe I'd get into it. But
Yeah.
it just looks like a twitchier version. And not to say that's a bad thing. I thought Eve was just it felt like you were
Yeah,
one man
I think
RTS.
it's
But
like everything Eve wasn't though. Like as
yeah,
far as like a fully immersive 3D world. If you're not a
yeah,
pilot, you can be more of a ground pounder, and
yeah.
there's a couple of. I'm actually in the middle of literally right before I had to stop for Landmark Live. I'm in the middle of doing a video for my YouTube channel about it to kind of explain why I think it's worth kind of throwing a couple bucks in now to get access to things, and so keep an eye out for that. Plug that again at the end of the show. But
Sure.
that's been about it. It's been Landmark and Arena Commander for me, basically.
Gotcha.
So
Cool deal. And Diggs, how about you? All sorts of stuff. I mean, well, you why don't you say it? Because you know better than me.
no. We went to the block party last week. That was a lot of fun. And we got some good information. So I've been on the forums. And we're supposed to get an ebook this
Pretty
week.
soon. Yep.
So I
Yep.
haven't heard anything since I talked to Steve on
Yeah.
Friday. Um, but the block party. So I've been in the forums a lot. The thing on the forums has been that I've been talking about is trying to come up with a way to have an integrated PvP and PvE or server so that those two playstyles can play nicely together on the same server
mm,
instead of being segregated to separate servers.
Yeah.
And civil conversation about PvP and PvE play that I've had in a long while. So just trying to smooth everybody's ruffled feathers has been very interesting.
that's an
And
uphill battle. If I may just throw in my 2 cents real quick, my friend, that's an uphill battle. Because they kind of forced those two kind of play styles together in Ready Everybody, Star Wars Galaxies,
mhm,
and those two player bases were always at odds with each other, always,
yep,
always.
yep.
Much to the detriment of the PVE player whenever possible. That if they can segregate, I'm all for that. It may mean like if I know there is a more PVE friendly server set for H1Z1, I would definitely jump more in on that in a heartbeat.
Yeah, the problem is it was all cool back in the day when I didn't know the people behind the avatar, so I was just pissed because the person just ruined my play session. So he was a
Yeah.
jerk, and that's all I knew. He's a PvP player, and he's a jerk, and that's it. I won't play with him. But now I know too many friends that I've made.
Yeah, I hear you. I'm the same way. Yeah.
Oh, Skype.
just-
Skype.
Yeah,
Being a
we
little
just
weird
lost
for me.
audio. Hang on, Dygz. We just lost your audio. You dropped out on
Oh.
this for a minute. Go ahead and repeat that thought about your
So the
PvP
big
friends.
the big thing with the PvP fans that I've been hearing is auto consent. And if you're in their space, it's auto consent. But the PvEers don't have that, especially if you just want to harvest. So getting around that, it's not that, a lot of them, it's not that they're just jerks. They just have a different idea. They play, that space like it's a first-person shooter. If you're there.
It used to be, I used to always hear, if you're red, you're dead. Doesn't matter what side you're on.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That was always the philosophy.
So it is an uphill battle, but it's been fun to try and go back through and see what each side needs, and it's rough. But
the more we talk about it, the more I think of if Alliance in World of Warcraft could openly attack other Alliance on a PvP server, not openly attack Horde, openly attack Alliance. That's what I kind of feel like Combine players attacking fellow Combine players kind of feels like. It seems like you would almost have to ingrain yourself with another faction that is opposed to the Combine and actually make yourself a real deal target before you'd actually be able to engage in PvP in a meaningful way.
Well, I think that's what they're doing with Archage, right? Like, there's that whole pirate class that if you really want to be that douche canoe, you've got to go out of your way to get exiled from everything, and then you can unlock the.
Whoops.
Skype.
Kind of froze.
Skype, what are you doing to me?
It wasn't me.
I know, it's Skype.
Okay.
Skype's being silly. First it puts people in the wrong window, and then it's like dropping
It's just-
people left and right.
I didn't. Yeah, and nothing's changed.
Yeah, I
It's
know.
Where? So
Okay, that's better.
where
can
was
see.
I? What was the last thing you heard me say?
Archage, I think.
Yeah, I was just going to say Archage has this whole pirate class that you unlock. Like, you basically do a bunch of things that get you exiled, and then you go live on Pirate Island, and you can attack everybody openly at all times. Unless they're a pirate. So that's the douche canoe colony that you can go join and go be that guy if you want to. So I don't know. That would be. Are we looking to have that? Is that what we're looking to have in Landmark? Or we looking to have? Because I
Landmark
suspect
should-
that's going to be an opt-in thing, like all around.
Well, PvP for both is opt-in, consent only.
Gotcha.
And Landmark's a little different, I think, because Landmark's mostly on claims. I don't think we're going to have PvP outside. I mean, they've talked about the possibility of PvP islands or PvP servers, but for the most part, what we know is claims.
The furthest I could see is maybe two claims being built with one claim with the A flag and the other claim with the B flag. So they're fighting, on their claims and between the space between their claims, but not necessarily, an entire island, but at least the ability that you can have basically rival player factions, and it might even be something that you include, like working with the other players using story bricks or some other system that basically you've created your faction, they've created their faction, here's your home city, here's their home city, now kung fu fight.
Mm-hmm.
So
Gotcha.
I think that would be a lot of fun.
But not to derail too much, Dygz, was there anything else super exciting that you got to talk about or have happen while you were there at the block party that you wanted to mention here at the top?
At the block party, what did we talk about? Wow. Okay, so there was a whole unexpected H1Z1 hour-long talk that I had. But Landmark, we talked about... we got to see the extra shapes a whole palette of extra uh, tool shapes, building tool shapes.
Okay. Nice.
One was like a step. One was like a L shape. One, I mean,
Yeah, they
somebody
were.
asked me. Yeah, somebody asked me later if we saw a cylinder tool, and I was like, the crazy shape. They were so crazy, I didn't even look for a cylinder.
Yeah.
No,
Or a column.
it was
Um,
1 by 1 by 1 concave
L shape.
voxels, like not
Interesting.
just the L shape, but full on concave. Like this is the outside, this is the dam inside, and that's just a 1 by 1 by 1, and the ability to have that kind of fidelity. Now they said they didn't put all of those in because it initially didn't have the ability to have them in with proper fidelity, but it seems like they're getting closer and closer to actually being able to give us some really amazing shape tools, some shape brushes. Actually, is kind of
Yeah.
more what I think of them as.
And I think there were like 20, at least 24.
Yeah.
There was a bunch. It was
Yeah.
crazy.
We only got to see it on a screen this big. We were just basically looking at
Yeah.
his phone real quick, and he was showing us the different
so it's just
shapes.
a little tease. It wasn't meant for you to be able to really pull a lot of info out after.
Yeah.
I'm sure they were pretty tight-lipped about anything new. They're saving all that for SOE Live.
Yeah,
obviously.
I think Neuro was disappointed to learn that they aren't planning to do vertex pulling.
Well, not initially. They said that it's not necessarily that it's out of the realm of options. It's just that they're slowly adding more and more tools as we actually truly need them. Because it would really be overkill to take somebody who's been playing Minecraft or another, like a voxel-based building game in Unity or something, and to come into Landmark and all of a sudden you've got, the full scope and scale of something like Maya that you get to deal with. It get really overwhelming really quickly. So it's
Well-
definitely... Go ahead.
Jeff said that they want 10-year-olds to be able to build, and they don't
Right.
want a 10-year-old to have
Skype!
about these. Oops, did I drop?
Almost. But yeah, basically that a 10-year-old shouldn't have to, learn all these crazy techniques just to be able to build at the same level as everyone. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Are you...
What else? The other cool thing that Jeff said was he can walk past a building and get shot by a monster from the top of the building, something like that.
Yeah, he can walk by places in the world and have creatures attack him. He can walk by a tower or a castle or something in-game right now and have archers at the top firing down on him. So combat's, a lot closer than
well,
we
it
might...
would
I
have to
mean,
be.
it's going to
It would
be
have-
ready. It's going to
Yeah.
be ready in a couple of weeks, or at
Yeah,
least close enough to
they're
show us.
showing it off. I'm sure it's done. I'm sure it is just being polished right now. Like I'm sure it's much more done than we think.
So Jeff also told us some crazy, insane stories about his group PvPing in Ultima Online, just pushing. I mean, they would purposefully hunt for bugs that would give them immunity and stuff like that, just so they could go in and trash people.
There was
and
an
then he
exploit
said,
that would do kind of like a region crash that would allow someone to walk in right afterward and just kill everybody that was standing there in this kind of like half logged in state. Because there was the hard 5-minute logout time, so anything that caused a zone crash, anybody who just comes in, just start reaping because they're just standing there for the taking at that point.
Mm.
I mean, that's hilarious. That level, a little bit almost. Your camera held up, but your voice cut out there. Man, Skype, what are you doing?
Do you need to pause for a moment? Maybe restart?
No,
No?
that's definitely Skype. It's if I was having issues with both cameras, then maybe. But
Let me make sure I'm not, running anything crazy. No, I'm not.
yeah, PvP in UO was a completely different experience than PvP in any other game that I'd played.
Yeah.
There were
I never
so
played
many.
it. Never tried it.
So many weird things about it. But I'd say latency always gave advantage to the person who was taking the initiative. If there was somebody standing somewhere and you come upon them in that position, you already have the advantage from latency because you're seeing packets that they're already there. They're still not getting all the packets that you're there yet. So that's how a lot of PKers were able to work so effectively. They open a portal, as soon as they come through, they're already one-shotting people. Meanwhile, you see a portal open up, and then everything kind of chugs for a second, and you're dead, and everyone else in the room is dead. So it was brutal. And you lose everything that's on you. That was the other thing with that game.
It's not a game I would have fallen in love with then. Yeah, any of those, you lose your shit games. Yeah, no, thank you. All set.
Well,
Pass.
Jeff kind of said he was going to make sure that PvP wasn't anything like...
Yeah. It's not going to be UO.
you could do in Ultima.
They've been very good. Over the years, they've learned so much from all their different games about PvP that I expect nothing less than a very well-balanced system that doesn't force it on people that doesn't want it, but is robust and feature-filled for people who do like that sort of thing, you know?
And if they dumb it down too much, it could definitely have negative ramifications.
Yeah, and I think...
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, Jeff and Terry both say often that they need to start playing, but difficult to master. So the whole idea is that it's going to take a while to learn, master the game. So.
Yeah. Okay, so let's kind of move on because we got a lot of notes to talk about here.
Yeah, so let's see here. So no Landmark Live next week, but Dave may go rogue for us, so we'll keep an eye out for that.
Yeah.
And
next week or the week after, it's going to be the 20th when things finally start back up again.
Because the week after is SOE Live, correct?
Yeah, in 2 weeks.
Yay!
Should be a lot of fun.
They say the plan is to try and stream all the keynotes. It sounds like they're still working out the details, but fingers crossed. I'm sure that Twitch will make that happen somehow.
Yeah, well, it's a combination of like Twitch and internet connectivity and having the AV people able to get from point A to point B and have the equipment function. At the block party, they're actually testing out a new wireless, like an IP camera system. Unfortunately, it was having some issues, so I think they were trying to work it out, and hopefully that'll work.
Yeah, there's a couple of companies that have solved this issue with sort of a streaming rig that's portable that uses a couple different ways to connect to the internet depending on what's available and stuff like that. But they're expensive. Like, you can rent them, but they're like $5,000 a month, kind of expensive. But who knows? Maybe that's what they're working on.
Good thing they don't need it for a whole month.
Exactly. Also, I'm sure the hotel's trying to work with them to make sure if they have hard lines. You know what I mean? It's a high-end hotel. I wouldn't expect that would be a huge problem for them to make happen, Yeah. So fingers crossed. So I look forward to that. I was a little disappointed. We'll get into more details this week, but right out of the gate, I was. Did I miss an announcement about who the winners were?
For which?
For Dark Elves.
They did list off who all the Dark Elves winners were, I believe, in just one big shot.
Okay. All right. So what did they win?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
I think it's not so much that they won something that they can put a finger on right now, so much as they have earned the privilege that when later systems come along, they'll be able to participate in it. But in terms of like something with a ribbon tied around, it's like, here you go, congrats.
Yeah. So all right. So they didn't really properly say and here's the opportunity they won.
Yeah.
Oh, Occupy Crushbone came up. Yep, 2015. Sorry, in chat.
2015. Yep.
That's my hashtag. Occupy
Crushbone. Yeah. Okay, so we've got a lot of awesome stuff.
Do it.
What's up? You're still breaking up there a little bit. All right. Anyway, so yeah, let's kind of go over what's going on this week. So they talked about a few things. The Foundation Islands builds are going to be going up. The Dark Elf stuff we were just talking about is actually going to be in the world. We're actually going to be able to find it and look at it. And this is not everything that is Dark Elf, or if it doesn't go here, it isn't Dark Elf, so much as this is what the style guide produced. These are the best representations we have for kind of the, and I always say it's in the context of the Combined City, what we'll be seeing with the Dark Elves. It could be, above and beyond that purpose, but, there's definitely going to be that kind of central hub starting zone sort of
museum.
thing.
It's basically so we can go see in real time,
Yeah.
oh, that's what they did. Okay.
Yeah, so that's going to be a lot of fun, and we already talked about the props actually being respawning in the caves properly, so that'll be nice.
Yes. And that will make spamming the same 3 caves a lot easier when stuff's respawning every few hours the way it's supposed to.
Yeah. So the a couple things with the paste function. Now, I think all of these require you to use tweak mode, but you're going to be able to do the paste board at any rotation except for a Player Studio template. Paste board means you copied something and you're pasting, or you've grabbed a template that you own and you're trying to paste it in the world. Not only are we going to be able to do the rotations, and they said if you have like at least a 3 voxel gap between different objects that might have issues with artifacting, they shouldn't have any issues. There should be enough distance that they don't try to push and pull each other.
Yeah.
Some new costumes on the way. That's not as big of a deal. What is a big
it's not
deal?
like it's a good looking costume either. It's the
It's all right.
Yeah.
The paste board is also going to have negative pasting, so you can take something that you've copied and basically paste it as air. So you can do a relief or an engraving or whatever it is that you're trying to do by taking the thing that exists and basically putting a rubber stamp version of it down, or cutting
like
that
stencil.
area away rather.
Yeah, that's a great idea. It really is.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see what people do with it. And then pastes actually persist. Like if you're using the tweak tool and you paste something, instead of the tweak tool going away and you having to reposition everything just where it was, up 1, left 1, and forward 1 to continue the pattern you were working on, now it'll stay in position, so you just pull it up, forward, and left 1, and then you paste again, and then up, forward, left 1, and paste again, up, forward, left 1, and paste again. And if you've got a cool macro device of some sort, you've just got a key press or whatever, and you just, okay, I want 10 of these, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right! That's, way better than... Yeah, because it's been a really difficult process, and now that we've got the pasteboard rotation, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people that are going to take one unit and paste it multiple times at different angles and different ways in a close space, even overlapping space potentially, and it'll make it a hell of a lot easier to do that. It'll take not nearly as much time to work with. I'm really excited for it.
So. Because it already seems like, the whole concept of not having an end game in EQ Next is easier with Landmark, because we can make the content, we can make buildings, we can make a new city. How long would it take, the best builders to make a new area for EQ Next? And that's just before we have the easier pasting stuff. I mean,
well, it depends.
Days like weeks.
Yeah, if they agree on everything and they know what they're going into, to build ahead of time, that's another consideration too. But definitely the actual workload of taking things that already exist and putting them in the world in a way that's configured to look like it was placed there intentionally, and it's a living, breathing area with an actual design to it, that it didn't just get thrown down randomly by a bunch of people who knew what they were doing. That's going to be a lot faster with...
Why are you saying there will be no end game in EQ Next?
What do you consider endgame?
I would presume there'll be some sort of group-like activity that you're meant to partake of with.
No, that's not. That's rating. There will be large
I
group
mean,
content,
yes, yeah, no. I mean, yeah, I suppose,
but
but
that's not endgame. Endgame is when the game ends.
Yeah.
The quest doesn't end.
Yeah, pretty much. And that's
yeah, I see what you're saying. All right, so we're splitting hairs over the
I would
definition.
say Locke's
I-
interview.
all right.
If you saw the interview Locke did with Dave and Terry, that really hammers home the point, and it's something that I've pretty much felt with Landmark the entire time. The idea that we're not only using this as the tool to make Landmark, or to make EverQuest Next rather, but this is also the tool that all of you folks can use to make your own games, your own content, make your own original stuff. We're not going to take the rights and run with it. We're going to support you and you making your own game and your own awesome content. Foundation for players to make in-game content, make their own campaigns, make their own games, essentially.
Gotcha.
And then as we go later on, and this is talking maybe like, I don't know, 3 to 5 years down the road, we'll even be able to have controls and custom commands and stuff that go above and beyond the current control scheme. Right now, we're going to be locked into WASD, mouse, spacebar, the current control configuration, the current camera configuration for a little while. But eventually, they do want to support the ability to create like 2D platformers, for example. And this was actually at the Year of EverQuest. I asked Jeff Butler about this, and it sounded like it was a pretty much a no at that time. But now, having talked to him again, he said actually it was never definitively a no. It's just a feature that we probably wouldn't see for a little while. Definitely not immediately, but a few years down the road, absolutely. So being able to make a first-person shooter, being able to make a Dota-style MOBA, those are things that I've thought about. Making a platformer, making a Binding of Isaac-style game, a top-down procedural roguelike with rotating inventories and stuff. That's the sort of stuff that I'm really excited to be able to do in Landmark when we actually get the ability to. And so to that extent, there isn't an end game so long as there's always people making content, and there will always be people making content.
Gotcha.
So,
All right. I just
really
want glad I clarified
Exactly.
that.
you've got to get a Nagafen hat for your avatar there, Dygz. I think his mic might have cut out too. Dygz, can you hear us?
Earth to Dygz, come in, Dygz.
Dygz. Oh, his stuff will be coming back in hopefully.
Yeah,
pretty soon.
like Dygz is telling me in chat. He is clarifying. Endgame is what you do while waiting for the next. I see what you mean, and in Star Wars Galaxies was one of those games that I logged in on. For me, the end game there was either for a long time pursuing the Elder Jedi thing or maintaining your crafting stuff. If you had merchants and vendors and that was something you were playing with all the time. You were part of a community. You were engaging in other things. The entertainer class allowed social interaction, things like that. So
yeah.
And like I said, that's one of the reasons why I so vehemently like to bring up that whole entertainer discussion, because it does add that element that helps sustain a community that sticks around for a long time. So I hear you. I see what you're saying, and if giving people the ability to build in that world as well is the way they do Landmark. I'm skeptical about how much of the world is going to be buildable. Like there was a lot of clutter in Galaxies with the player structures. There could be. Not everybody had a great aesthetic eye for how to build a wonderful city. So
I don't think
Go
it's
ahead.
about us just placing stuff where we want it. It's about us having content that the devs can then use to where they want it. That's what I'm saying. We
I
can
see
build
what you
stuff
mean.
for them
Yeah.
to use. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, well, in the storyteller thing is something they've done in Galaxies, something they've been doing in EverQuest 2, and they know they've been popular with people. I know they do it in Star Trek Online. I think that's what actually makes that game thrive. Is I've never really dinked with the player created content, but there is, I'm sure, we're going to get some really interesting things out of letting players have an even more robust ability to completely create their worlds, and do really wild things in the game. So it's going to be interesting for sure. Again, I do want to emphasize that I do also look forward to the PvE story content they have planned as well. I certainly want them to tell me a story.
Right.
Cool.
But if they need buildings for those stories, we can build it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Absolutely. So let's see. What else did they do this week? So what else we got happening?
So there was a little bit of talk about Player Studio.
Yeah.
And there's some cool stuff there.
Is Rotation not in this week?
I believe Rotation was going to be in this week.
Okay, and it's not. Neither is. I was disappointed to see no Glass this week. No Glass voxels.
Yeah, that's definitely next week. Same with
Yeah.
Guilds. Guilds, they haven't really talked about too much. I really hope they went with my suggestion and probably the suggestion of others to allow multiple, allow people to join as many groups and guilds as they want without limit, because there's not really, it's not like you've got this elite hardcore landmark raiding guild that gets on from like 5 p.m. to midnight every Friday night and every Saturday night and every Sunday night, and all you're doing is just hardcore grinding. If you don't show up, you're out of the guild. That's doesn't exist.
Cody is also saying just Rotation is in. They just demoed it. I missed the first 10 minutes of the show. I had to run up or something, and apparently I missed all the good stuff. So yes, Rotation was even demoed, they said. So
yeah.
Duh.
Well, they can demo stuff on the Landmark Live that isn't actually in the update, though.
Yeah, we'll find
They've done
out
that
soon.
before.
Yeah, I don't see it mentioned in the update notes. Rotatable. Oh no, rotatable templates and pasteboards. Yes,
All
it
right.
is. All right. Yeah, you're no longer constrained to just 90 degrees. Duh. Yes, excellent.
All right.
So there's that too.
Yeah.
Again, anxiously awaiting Glass voxels. So I guess that's next week.
Yeah, that'll be next week. Yep.
Then you said, so yeah, they just spent some time talking about Player Studio. It sounded like they had to clarify some stuff with folks. Like they've been getting kind of like some confused people as to how the system's working.
Yeah, so the upvote downvote thing, and it's kind of an interesting thing because now they're starting to talk about achievements for being able to upvote and downvote things properly, and that's starting to get in kind of an interesting territory because you're not winning or losing anything by being able to do those votes, but you have to pay and get past this entry gate just to be able to earn this specific type of achievement. So that's kind of a weird thing. I don't know if the spend 1,000 station cash and landmark after the My Store features were added is actually going to be a thing for ratings in the future, or if it's just something that they're trying out now in closed beta to see how it works. Because ultimately,
they've got to separate out the players that are never going to drop a dime into the game from the players that are willing to pay something into the game. Remember, it's a free to play game.
Right,
So
but I've spent
have-
over 150,000 station cash
I know, but
on
we are
SOE
the exception.
games.
We are already on board. We've been doing this for a while. We're already like, for whatever reason, I got used to it years ago with other games they've done, so it's no big whoop to me to drop, $10, $20 to get premium access, or, you know what I mean? So I can unlock chat and get extra bag slots or whatever the limit ends up being on that game,
Yeah.
If you let anybody whoever logs into the game but never drops a penny, I mean, you really are opening yourself up to a world of issue by not having that barrier there.
True.
So it's only $10. Most players are going to spend $10 in the game if they're remotely invested. For one reason or another, most likely for a cool costume.
I would say it should be immediately opened up, regardless of expenditure, to anybody who's got their Player Studio paperwork in, they've got their tax info in, they're allowed to actually engage in the Player Studio system.
Mhm.
I think those folks, because a lot of us actually had to spend $10 just to be able to get our tax information processed. I didn't, because I applied back in December of last year when I think they were still doing it in house, and because everything went international with kicking out ProSieben and doing, SOE's committed to doing all the international stuff for Landmark and kind of games in the future. And actually, they even kicked them off PlanetSide 2, if I remember correctly. I would imagine they've gone to a third-party tax paperwork processing agency that can take anybody's tax form from anywhere in the world and process it readily, because the turnaround time is much quicker than it was back in December. So.
But I see. But again, the idea that you spent some money to be involved with the process, that it should count. No, I mean.
Well, whether or not the person spent the money, if you can engage in Player Studio, if you're allowed to build something and put it up on the market, provided you have the station cash to list it, I don't see why you aren't already eligible to vote yes or no on things.
But someone new coming into the game will have to spend the $10 to engage in the Player Studio to begin with. Like, they'll have to get their tax ID information checked out.
Yeah, I suppose, but that's not a transaction of $10 1,000 station cash in game, which is actually the requirement they really look at. I mean, I feel like they could go either way with it. There's a lot of people that made things for PlanetSide 2, for EverQuest 2, and for other games that already are in the system and already would be good people to have voting on it, but. It's, I guess, just as much that as the idea that people are able to earn achievements for something that you can only access by a pay gate, even if the achievement means absolutely nothing and it's just something that you can, put on your wall or something.
Now, I think the easiest way around this, because we all agree, someone coming to the game, once it's launched proper, going, woo-hoo, I don't get to vote on anything, who hasn't spent a dime on the game. I think we all agree, none of us feel bad for that person. Go spend $10 in the marketplace on something, and then you can participate. I don't think any of us will feel bad about that, But I do think that they should retroactively, anybody who has a pack to have early access, they should go, here's 1,000 station cash.
Yeah, I could definitely see that.
Just to solve the backlash.
Yeah.
There you go. Everybody get in. Everybody got it. Cool. Yeah. All right. And then moving forward, it's not a big deal because those people have to buy in somehow before they can. It's also just good karma. You got to put something into the pot before you ask the pot to give something back. It's just kind of it's the realistic thing to expect. So make sure you're a legitimate person trying to actually turn out something worthwhile.
Dygz, what are your thoughts on the subject? We've been talking back and forth a little here.
I'm basically, to me, it's just another aspect of gating, like they're doing with the Trailblazers to begin with. Pay a little $10, and that lets them know that you're invested in the feature and not just gonna jump around. I don't know that every single person who's in the game.
Oh no, you cut out.
I hate it when that happens.
I really wanted to hear what he had to say there too. It's not that I don't want to hear what anybody has to say. I always want to hear what everyone has to say, but he was extrapolating on his perspective there.
Exactly. And I had a mouthful of cracker, so that wasn't going to help to try and jump in to fill the void. Is Dygz in Canada? Is that why his internet's so sucky?
No, he's in California.
Jesus, what the hell?
You said as you froze up for a second there too.
Yeah.
No, it's all good. All right, Dig. So what were you saying there?
No, I was just saying
Everything
I
you
think it
just said.
just gives people added incentive to be more responsible.
That's fair.
Yeah, and I think and I have seen it. I know I've complained a couple episodes back about I meet the requirement. I have spent more than 1,000 station cash in the store since Landmark has launched for Landmark. Just to be clear, and never got a pop up. Talked to somebody at SOE. They had me email them. They checked my account and they're like, "Yeah, you should be getting it. Um, hang on, we'll try and fix it." Somewhere they must have fixed it because I started getting them. I don't get them often, but I do get the pop ups. So I've been able to, again, yeah, that looks appropriate. I don't know if it'll sell, but here you go.
Yeah.
Thumbs up.
Yeah. So, a couple other things with Player Studio. So we're going to be able to, if I understand correctly, we're going to be able to rename and redo the details on a template that has already been pasted. That if you pasted it and maybe you had a typo or maybe the information isn't the most market friendly or whatever, that you can actually go and change that without pulling the item off and relisting it at the
very
listing fee.
very handy as a longtime merchant in other games. Let me tell you, very handy.
Yeah, that should be really, really nice. And then now they said Player Studio items that haven't sold for 30 days or haven't really had much activity for 30 days will actually be marked inactive. Now, that isn't that it will cost any money to get it going again or anything bad against it. It just wasn't working at that point in time, and maybe it will. You can always just go back in and set it to active again, and it'll be available in the market.
Or maybe that's just a reality check that maybe your stuff's not really worth people paying for it. Sorry. Someone has to say the not so nice thing.
Well, there's just as much that
it's a time to reflect and reevaluate what it is you have put on the marketplace.
I've actually seen some people put up some really nice sculptures and some really nice work, and I could not find it for the life of me. Like scanning through pages and pages and pages. So I think part of it's also the organization system. You still need some other way to further subdivide the different categories of templates, just to make it a little bit easier. We have the tags, and the tags kind of get us there, but they're kind of wonky. If I put in dark elf, I'm gonna get all sorts of dark elf stuff, but I might also get things that are a lot of things that are labeled dark elf that really aren't. They just got that label thrown on it. And then of the stuff in there, I don't know, some of it might not be the highest of quality, and some of it might be absolutely pristine, but too complete, not modular enough to work with. So yeah, there's a lot of reasons why things won't sell, or why they'll sell during sometimes, and sometimes they won't. So one other thing that was brought up with Player Studio is that they're disallowing any religious items. Now, I'm willing.
What was that? Where did you get that from?
That was when they were talking about Player Studio, that was brought up that one of the things that will get something kicked is if it has religious items in it, and that one is so vague, because does that mean any Christmas content will be prevented? Because if it's not, then Hanukkah content needs to be allowed, and if anybody knows Hanukkah as well as I do, there's going to be the Star of David represented somewhere, and that's pretty much the symbol of Judaism.
Well,
so
that's where we have to start splitting the hair and asking, Santa Claus is not really a religious symbol. He is a secular symbol, Christmas tree, you could split a hair and say, it's definitely been, its symbolism has been taken over by Christianity in many ways, but not everybody puts up a Christmas tree as Christian. You know what I
But
mean?
there's also other religions, the ones that it was kind of appropriated from, that also
Yeah.
use the decorated tree as a religious symbol, and they might even have
Yeah.
more reverence for it. So it's kind of a difficult one. It's kind of difficult to moderate, and it's one of those ones where a thumbs up, thumbs down doesn't necessarily get to it, because if I've got a build that I'm rating and it looks great, and it's this beautiful cathedral, but it's got the standard Christian cross, or even a full-on crucifix on it somewhere. Does that immediately mean it's not appropriate? Does that immediately mean it gets kicked? Or, and then that's another thing. We can have things that are religious in the context of Landmark, or in the context of EverQuest Next, something that's a religious symbol of one of the game's cultures, and that's allowed.
Just because you mentioned lore, what was it in Locke's video? Lore coming to Landmark.
Yeah. What's up?
Lore is coming to Landmark. They're
Yeah.
adding lore.
Yeah. Well, that's true. That's right.
Yeah, religion. It should be fine to have EQ Next religion represented. I would wish we would have more lore for EQ Next religions. But
Yeah, I get you. It's once they continue to introduce more of that stuff with the culture. Like, I don't know what we've read a lot of the books for the basically the fall of the Doll Empire and the beginning of the Combine itself, but through all of that, I can't visualize a specific symbol that's what the elves use to represent their empire. That's the thing that represents them.
Where are we getting this lore is coming to Landmark? I thought Landmark was going to be a loreless game.
nope, it's lore light. So they're going to be adding lore, I think, once combat comes in, to explain where monsters come from, and to give a loose kind of feel where the portal spires come from and stuff like that. So it's not going to be heavy lore, but they said in Locke's interview yesterday with Terry and Dave that they're going to be adding lore at some point
All right.
soon.
I will have to go watch that interview. I missed that.
Yeah, that's right, because they were talking about like the trying to explain why there's pockets of different types of technology and different things that exist is because, well, the lore. They'll share that with us. Should be interesting. Okay, so good stuff there. So we talked about guilds, we talked about glass voxels, we talked about them planning streams for the keynotes. We talked about, oh yeah, they said that the group build sort of thing that they're going to be doing during SOE Live is going to be kind of working with the shows that builders in the community already have. So I don't know who they have planned in particular, but I think that's great. The people that have already been kind of the face of building in Landmark, like Sog and actually I shouldn't list any names because there's so many awesome.
Yeah, you don't want to leave anybody out, but there's definitely a whole team of people ready to go, I'm sure, for SOE Live that is all prepared to sure it gets out to the world.
Yeah, and that should be really, really fun to see, because that's I think Thursday night when they're going to be doing the whole the group build during the late night lounge. So that should be really interesting to watch. May know what they're using.
No, I'm here. I'm getting you just fine.
Yeah, that's definitely the link, Cody and DK. It's that's definitely that video. Big time was the Storybricks video from the AI conference. Was that in Sweden? I can't remember. But there was this AI conference on the 23rd. There was a video released about Storybricks, and this isn't Storybricks in EverQuest Next. They specifically said, Yeah, they specifically said we're not showing the stuff with EverQuest Next until SOE Live. So they're going to show us how Storybricks works at SOE Live. I'm really
Nice.
excited. But what they've
Yep.
shown us is great. It's basically these modular bricks. They have kind of 4 different parts that drive the interactions and how things work. And it's basically he demonstrated in a few different ways how the motivations of one character can lead to the things that go through the plot. He gave references to the show 24, to Romeo and Juliet, to Game of Thrones, and basically showing how all you really need is the right blocks in the right kind of components in the system, and it will generate an event based on that. If you've got, the requirement is two houses in the same city that hate each other but have to share the same farm space or whatever, and that might come up a lot. It might come up enough that it's something that people see not frequently, but is involved different consequences and different outcomes.
Interesting. So, most people are offering up that it was pretty dry viewing, but it sounds like it was very technically full. So I may actually be very interested in watching that because I'm curious how the system's going to work.
Yeah, it's not like the most, for lack of a better word, sexy demonstration of it, but it shows the technical nitty gritty of it. And it already gives people the stuff they would need, that if they wanted to start conceptualizing the interactions they want to be able to design, will at least be able to kind of scratch at that a little bit, even right now before it's been revealed at SOE Live. So that's really cool. That's something I'm really excited for.
Yeah, I look forward to them showing. Question. Bad Viking 82 wants to know, why doesn't Adam have a Nagi hat? Because I don't have a Nagi hat.
That will be one of your tasks, Nero. You'll have to try and snag him a hat at SOE Live.
Do you know how many people want those hats?
Oh.
I almost gave.
He's a co-host.
I almost gave a hat to Dave
Apparently-
Georgeson last year, or early this year, rather.
I'm being told clearly by the chat room that I have not earned my Nagi hat. So
Oh.
fuck that guy.
Oh.
Fuck Adam.
Oh.
He doesn't deserve one.
Yeah, he's just a jerk on the internet, right?
I'm just the guy who takes 2.5 hours out of
Hey,
a night
that's
to
how-
sit here
that's
and
how
have this.
That's how
thing,
Jimmy
and,
Wisenhunt got his job. So
whatever.
Yeah. It'll eventually get to the point where it's like, I've got this kind of hat now. Oh, you want my hat? It'll be the I don't know, a hat shaped like an atom or something. I
There you go. Yeah.
no idea. So let me see. Let's go over the notes one more time because they're. Oh yeah, Karen structures are not supposed to be pointed south. Weird detail. Heed that
Did we hear
detail.
Why did they say why? Did it just in
I think it was because they said that's specific to another race that they've got plans for. Is that they're not? There's one race that is going to be pointed south. That ain't
South.
Karen. South. Yeah, that they're
Do we
orienting.
know which way is south?
Yeah, we have a compass.
Yeah, you're right. Okay, compass. Yeah. It's weird.
Isn't everything backwards?
That's only the
I
sun
know.
and the moon.
Okay. Yeah, you're right.
Like,
It's
why does
north
it
is still
matter in
north. Yeah.
Landmark? Why does that matter in landmark? Like, it should matter in EQ Next. Okay.
It's, I think, specifically for lighting and how you're arranging the light to work with it. Having something that's north-south oriented and where the windows are going to be set up is completely different than something that's potentially east-west oriented or doesn't have a specific orientation. It's kind of a radial structure like we're actually seeing with a lot more of the Karen stuff.
Mm.
Is our moon sun gonna be the same in EQ Next as it is in landmark?
I don't even know if it's going to
I'm
be just
sure.
one moon.
Yeah, well, that's a good point.
Yeah, because there is that Luckland, and aren't there a bunch of moons in EverQuest?
Also, the main one gets blown up.
Yeah.
Remember?
Lucknow and
Oh,
Trinal
yeah.
are the two main ones, yeah.
That's
Word.
right.
Proving once again that SOE does it long before WoW. They had a cataclysm before it was called a cataclysm.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
What is it called? It wasn't that the top shouldn't have topping. The structures need to be taller. Yeah, that's the thing. The base needs to be, no matter what angle you're looking at it from, it needs to kind of read as a trapezoid going up, and then, once you've got enough foundation, then you start kind of building the stucco and wood, moving your way all the way up to just wood at the top, or mostly wood. There's definitely some builds that look right with a little bit of plaster, even like almost up to the roof, but for the most part, a lot of the really awesome builds that we've seen, or at least the ones that I've seen that I feel like were really to the style, not only were they tall, but tall with more of the brick sort of stuff towards the very bottom, more of the plaster with the spars and some moderate detail in the middle, and then heavy woodwork with maybe a light amount of plaster at the top, and really like not necessarily even thirds, but pretty loosely 1/3, 1/3, 1/3 of the building. If I was going to build a cairn structure, that's how I would approach it.
Right, and what's the question you have to remember to ask at SOE Live?
Which one?
About the eighths, right? Did you just go through that?
Oh, no, actually, I don't think I even mentioned that one.
Breaking
Yeah,
the claim down.
so-
You have to remember that.
Yeah, I can't even remember if I brought that up last week or not. The idea of taking the current claim size and dividing it, into eighths, halfway, halfway, and halfway. So we get basically 4 floor template, or four floor size claims and 4 kind of air size claims. They're the same size, but in the space where we would normally get 1 claim. And the idea with that is that instead of having to build everything within these specific proportions, we'd be able to use all of our smaller claims to be able to build the roads kind of leading up to the structure, connecting one structure to another structure across a long area if you and your buddy have builds that you want to connect. Just being able to do more with the space instead of having to use this large claim space, and you're only using a quarter of it, that you only use a quarter of it, and then you can use the rest of that claim space kind of spread out differently over your area. There's a general problem in Landmark of people building way too big. Yeah, but they're going to want people building bigger. I think it was Locke's video where they were talking about that they're looking to have, 10 Mazogre City and things of that level, and maybe not necessarily the lethality like ultra mega build, but maybe. I mean, definitely having a lot of stuff close enough to itself that you're going from point A to point B without being just this giant expanse in between.
Fugazi makes a great point about heroic movement and how we'll be jumping, especially with our leaping that we're already doing. I mean,
Yeah. I mean, I kind of realized that early on when I built my structure was, we're leaping and double jumping and grappling, and people are going to build to that and cater to that sort of play style too, because, we are moving through the world that way. So larger and whatnot makes total sense.
We are, and so are the enemies. I would imagine enemies are also going to have heroic movement. They're going to be able to chase us down, I would imagine. If you think you're all slick with your wall running and your treetop jumping and all of that, well, guess what? They're going to be following right below you with a bow and arrow, firing shots up at you. I really like the idea of heroic movement. Maybe it's not going to be necessarily that extreme, but I really am looking forward to enemies actually being able to move at player speed, that you can't just go through a big old mob of things and then outrun them, that they'll eventually catch up to you, and that with the power of story bricks, there's enough of them, they see you and they decide, we're going to chase that fool down and we're going to kill him. It doesn't matter how fast they go. We'll just keep up pursuit. We don't know how stamina is going to work with heroic movement, if there's going to be stamina with heroic movement, if we'll eventually, slow down or get winded or just not be able to do certain parts of the movement process. So, with all of that, that's not just, out in the world, but that's also on people's claims. I would imagine people are going to have claims where there's, giant platforms around and you don't know what they're there for at first, but then when you start the encounter there's giant lions leaping from one to the next and trying to tear your head off as they jump across. Or those are the platforms that you need because there's rising lava and there's a lava beast down there, and that's the only way you can not die. And oh yeah, it's trying to melt out the platforms from below you. So, the heroic stuff, I'm really, really excited to see how that's going to work, how it's going to affect the players, how it's going to affect the creatures, and what all it's going to, equate to, not just in Landmark, but also in EverQuest Next. Should be fun.
Yes, it should be.
Do you think that in Landmark, health is going to be character-based, or how is our health and strength and stuff going to... Tool-based? Weapon-based? Armor-based?
It's probably going to be your equipment-based. I'm guessing it's going to be the sort of thing where you're, I've said it before, the roguelike style with certain combinations of items give you your attributes. You're only limited to a certain number of combinations. And while you're going to have an inventory system, you'll be able to swap those things out. It's ultimately that level of specificity that, I guess it's the same as, almost maybe the same as a deck build in a trading card game sort of thing, where if you have these tools, and you're fighting somebody who is configured this way, you can use these things to have advantages against them, and you'll have to avoid doing these things to give them an advantage against you. And just, if the build doesn't work out for you, you swap something out. But a combat build isn't going to have the crafting quality bracer or the harvesting quality bracer. It might not even have a belt of the Zephyr, because that might also be your belt of ogre strength. It's like, well, do I want to be able to fly, or do I want to be able to punch fools through a wall?
Yeah, that's where the balance will be.
That's what I'm thinking too.
And the tiers of quality, the crafted stuff, and how much you can customize that versus what you're going to find in chests and how customized it's already going to come, that's going to be a lot of the discovery system. Right now, we're just hunting for, Belt of the Zephyr if we can. When Landmark starts going live and we start getting a lot more stuff, Belt of the Zephyr is one of many awesome things that everybody's going to want.
Yep.
So you think everybody will start with same base health?
Yeah.
Oh,
They've said there's going to be ways you can potentially improve your attributes through in-game achievement and potentially some other stuff. But I think, going back to Terraria as the example, it's going to be something you either find in the world that you just randomly come across in a chest or somewhere, and you use it and it increases your health. It could be something like Edge of Space, where there's only a finite number of upgrade nodes at each tier, and then if you've collected all of the upgrade nodes at that tier, you're at the highest level you can be for that tier. You can go down further into deeper tiers and be able to start getting those, but you'll still have to go back up to the higher tier and get the upgrades there to kind of fill in everything. I would actually really like to see a system like that, and it wouldn't, there would be no guarantee that even one upgrade is available on a particular island, or maybe there's just one, but you have to go to 2 or 3 islands to find all the variations on it that give all the different stats and the different kind of additions for that tier. There's a lot of other ways. I could probably sit here and write 10 different ways they could do it. One of them might be the one they're actually going with. What do you guys think, though?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't really thought much past base health, and then having your items and being able to and needing to decide what you want to wear to do what. Do I want my shirt to give me more health? Do I want my shirt to give me more strength? Do I want my shirt to, you know, be like the belt of the Zephyr? Give me some other power. So I don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep. I haven't given it a whole lot of thought. Surprised me. I'm sure they have something in mind.
With falling damage
Who cares?
coming.
Give me a weapon. Just give me a weapon. I don't need a weapon.
You just figure it out, huh?
I want to do magic spells, and I don't want it to be like a weapon. But we'll see what they offer up for the beginning.
I want a
What are you
one
gonna
that
do? Pop
shoots.
a pill? How are you gonna do magic
missiles?
without a weapon?
I don't know. I mean, there's always like if there's like a brawling or wrestling sort of system, and you just bare hands, and there's a skill set with that.
Well, it's
I mean,
in DCUO, you're a hand blaster basically. You know what I mean?
Hand
like
blaster,
it's your
yeah.
hand is the weapon. you know?
yeah,
Yeah,
the
but
whole
that's
Mega
not-
Man sort of thing.
Yeah, but in Landmark, it's all weapon based. It's not character based.
Right.
So you'll equip magician's amulet or something. I don't know.
I'll go
Or-
for that.
Why do you got to
Yeah.
take the wind out of my sails? Damn you people, and you're crushing my fun. Fine.
And the combat hasn't even
Just
started
kill
yet.
stuff with a pick.
Yeah.
Fine.
Assuming that's actually usable as a weapon.
Fine.
Now that's the thing. Are they going to have a Rubicide axe, a Cobalt axe? Are those going to be different than your actual like combat battle axe? Am I harvesting wood with the same thing that I'm harvesting skulls with?
I think it's going to be different.
Maybe. Probably.
I think it's probably going to be different. Staff's a mage, daggers are
Yeah. See, we're getting suggestions. Staff to be a mage or equip a spell book. Yeah, there's plenty
Yeah.
of
Well,
solutions.
they're all
That's-
skins
That's
though.
still a weapon. I'm just saying it's not
Yeah.
coming from your hands.
Yeah.
But okay, all right. Good.
But they've definitely said they're all skins. If you've got a spell book that casts fireball, well, you could just as easily have a cannon that shoots fireballs, like a sci-fi cannon.
Pretty, I guess. Yeah.
It's
You know?
just how it looks and how it functions. Don't necessarily. It's that you can have, and actually this is something that they've kind of talked about with like, maybe the idea if you've got people that you want to have using the same type of equipment, like you've got a build that's got some sort of a rule set on it that is fantasy only. So when people come there with their sci-fi equipment, they still keep the appearance and aesthetic of it, but it gets, while they're on that claim, it gets disguised as fantasy versions of the stuff rather than the sci-fi versions of the stuff.
Gotcha.
So they can't break the immersion, even though they're clearly firing a laser that sounds like a laser, or maybe they're not.
You know
Maybe
what?
the entire aesthetic gets kind of
what, though?
rewrapped.
I'm not that anal retentive. If somebody wants to be a green alien blob and bring an alien ray gun to my knife fight, whatever. Cool.
Yeah,
I'm
Landmark.
Landmark is totally about just bring the variety. There is no logic to it. I don't care.
I think that's
if we're
what the
talking
spires
next.
mean is that it's.
Go
Yeah.
ahead. Yeah.
No, I was gonna say that's what the spires mean. It's like
Dygz, you cut out. You're cutting out.
Poor Dygz. Every time we try and give him the floor,
They'll be back in a sec.
he will.
Oh, one other note for the Karen builders out there. Having parallaxing through multiple layers, like you've got the foreground lattice and the background lattice, and how they kind of create that parallaxing effect as you move across them, that's a good thing. Work that stuff. Dygz, it looks like you're back.
Say what you're going to try and say there. Go ahead.
Oh, no audio. Hold on.
No audio, my friend.
I pulled a Tamlin. No, I was just saying that I think that it's landmark, so it's just whatever. That's what the spires mean. It's a multiverse. People just poured in from whatever universe or dimension or whatever. It's a conglomerate.
Whatever
of
they're into.
genres.
You want to be a
Yeah.
ninja, be a ninja. Yeah. You want to be
Yeah.
a space pirate, be a space pirate. You know, you want to be a marine,
Um,
be a marine.
It seemed like Jeff Butler really wants to be a ninja. Next.
Maybe a
I'll
little
bet.
bit.
Ninja as a class several times.
He does, yes. I noticed that.
Ninja would be a popular class, I am sure.
But we already, like, I feel like we already went the rounds with that discussion that a ninja's just a rogue wearing black garb using
Pretty much. I mean,
you
it
know, a
does fall into
specialized
that.
saber of sorts, essentially,
Yeah.
or not. I mean, or thrown weapons, or smoke bombs, or whatever. I mean, that's
Jeff seemed to imply that ninja might be an advanced class, and he kind of spoke of starter classes. Like there's starting classes and then advanced classes. Did you get that
That's what
impression
I'm
when he was
expecting.
talking?
a little bit, and I'm
That is
wondering.
what they implied. Yeah, that's kind of what that, you know, you would, in order, like, you could deep dive on anything you picked up a basic class as, but it's the time and effort and energy required to skill up and learn the next thing or learn the next tier of skills. You know, like, it's a real time commitment. So I wouldn't be surprised if ninja was some sort of advanced class you can unlock and find in the world.
I mean, we have assassin as something that you would need to be a high tiered rogue to unlock.
Yeah.
Um, but he really seemed to make it sound like the starter classes are really just starter classes, and the other classes are
You know what this sounds an awful lot like
advanced.
to me. You know what this sounds an awful lot like? Star Wars Galaxies.
Yeah, I knew you were gonna say that.
Well, it was the same idea. The only thing that limited there how many sort of advanced classes you could go after was a point system
Yeah.
that worked fairly well. But it sounds like in this case it's going to be more of a time sync system that, you know, oh, if you want to be the super ultra master ninja assassin warrior, well, you're going to be at that one for a while, you know.
Right.
Yeah, everybody can be, you know, apprentice ninja, and everyone will be, I'm sure. But you know, supreme grand master ninja lord, probably not so many.
It should be interesting to see if that is the route they're going to kind of go, or if there's going to be, like, you know, a really dynamic branching system that, you know, you start here and then it forks out 6 ways, and there's like 3 or 4 forks off of that, and it's just what you pick out of that, what you develop, what you build up and get good at and specialize in. That's kind of the advanced class that you're going for. So you would, you know, level up
So
from a
I
rogue.
will be that jerk who rolls that, you know, magic using tank just to be that
That's
guy.
not
You know?
that's not a jerk. That's well within the realm of multi-classing. That's great.
You know, I mean, you know, that would be my idea, though. I would like to be able to do things like that, and it does kind of sound like that's the flexibility they're giving us. You know.
Nero, did you watched all of Locke's stream? I mean,
Yeah.
Locke's interview.
Yeah. I did.
Because this past talk is reminding me of the class system being opened up for crafting as well. Saying they're thinking of crafting being similar to having classes, and that you'll get abilities and you can unlock different abilities to help you be a better cabinet maker or whatever it is that you're going after, so that you can kind of specialize in cabinet making.
I just
and be the
screen
best.
capped Damien Knight saying Super Ultra Grandmaster Ninja Assassin Lord confirmed here by app. I'll be sending that to Jay Butler later. Please continue, Diggs. I apologize.
No, that's fine. I was just saying that they just mentioned briefly that I hadn't heard before, that they're thinking of having a kind of class system to crafting, so that you'll get abilities that help you be a better like cabinet maker or whatever it is that you want to specialize in crafting, so
Yeah.
that some people will be master cabinet makers if that's what they want to be.
And I
Because
look
Vanguard
only they
forward.
comes
will
up.
have unlocked the skills to let them do that.
I totally
Yeah.
think of Vanguard with that because, I mean, one of the ways you could level up through the game, there are three ways. You could do through combat, through crafting, and through diplomacy. And crafting had its own, you could be an architect or like a weaponsmith, armorsmith. I think there were a few different variations you could kind of specialize into. But the one thing for me with all the crafting stuff is that there needs to be synergy with every crafting class that you've already unlocked, because, and I've used this analogy before, if I'm a grandmaster weaponsmith, I'm already a fairly decent armorsmith without ever having made a suit of armor, because I understand metallurgy, I understand all the advanced techniques for working with metal, I understand all the advanced techniques for working with my tools. So all I need to do is get a pattern and maybe learn a little bit from somebody who's been in armor smithing for a while, and I'm going to be pretty damn good at it pretty quickly. It's one of those things where as people get higher up, it shouldn't pigeonhole them into one field, but it should make them more diverse and more able to do other things that they weren't able to before, that maybe other players weren't even able to do before.
Yeah, I mean, again, that's how
That's
they've
more
done it
than
previously.
and not just multi-classing in the crafting system. So you have your abilities, and you're able to make combos and stuff out of the abilities that you've equipped.
Yeah, but
That's the way it would work.
it's specifically like, I don't know if it's like you can only get to this level of weapon and armor crafting by having a specific prerequisite skill of metallurgy, or if weapon crafting and armor crafting are completely different disciplines and there's maybe just a bit of crossover between the two. However it would work out, I really hope they do something where if somebody wants to be a career crafter, they're going to be able to do a lot more with it and be a lot better at it than somebody that's a crafter
So casually.
yeah, or that they're half crafter and half combat, and doing a little bit of both.
But that's
Yeah.
that's what Dave said, is people won't be able to do everything.
Right,
So
right, and that's we'll get to see more of that hopefully soon. How I guess the division of kind of roles and really giving us the reason why we need to have specificity in the things that we're going to do. I would imagine another part of it, though, is, once again, story bricks, that certain interactions will only happen if you have a certain level of skill in a certain category, and then it triggers the event. Oh, hey, blah, 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 I spotted some damage in your armor. I can, hammer that out for you. And then you go to the forge, they take off their armor, and all of a sudden 5 bandits come in. So you got to fight them off and keep them from stealing the armor. Or try to repair it while you're trying to fend them off or something. Could be a really awesome event. It could be something that gets other players involved and starts to become this big old town brawl. I think that'd be awesome, and it's definitely going to be possible with Storybricks for that sort of interaction. Just a very minimal thing being the catalyst for a big event.
Yeah, I suspect
I'm
that'll be
laughing.
it. I suspect that's why I was like, yeah, entertainer and entertainer skill sets could be something you have to go learn from somebody in a theater, or a traveling carnival, or you know what I mean. Like you make it a thing where it would be cool, to have to go learn the skills to be able to do that. And then once you've done, X amount of whatever, then you can go seek out somebody else out there who might be able to teach you juggling, for example.
Or they
belly
seek you
dancing.
out.
Yeah, I mean, exactly, or they seek you out. Like they did some pretty advanced stuff in Star Wars Galaxies with the revamp on that Jedi Quest system, and there were things that were like the game would tag you once you've done X, Y, and Z, and the game would spawn a mysterious figure that would point you on the next step to your quest. And it was, I thought, one of the coolest things they ever did in the game. And now they're saying they're going to be doing that in Story Bricks on a whole nother level. So, yeah, I think that it's exactly that. You're going to, oh, he's got Bard and Mage. We'll approach him with X, Y, and Z. Like, you may suddenly now have, necromancers approach you and want to teach you dark arts, while you have, fire casters that want to teach you fire stuff, and whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
I was laughing at the vision of a cabinet maker starting a brawl in a tavern.
That would be kind of funny.
Well, I could see them doing it for a
Have to
different
replace
reason.
The cabinets
Exactly.
in the tavern,
Exactly.
It would be
I
funny.
think that'd be hilarious. Yeah, I mean, there might be opportunities for that sort of stuff. It is going to be a somewhat destructible world between the voxels and the props.
And you know what was also a neat idea back from Star Wars Galaxies that I wonder if they'll employ in some way? The ability to teach other players skills. They took it away eventually, but when the game was still the mix and match of the skill sets, if you had learned the skill and somebody else had enough XP and they were ready to learn that skill, you could find another player to teach it to you. And the game encouraged you to do it because you wouldn't be able to get your master title so you had taught X amount of people. And it was a really neat feature that forced social interaction. And, players are pretty cool about it. It was a neat idea. And I wonder if that would be neat. Like, someone found a great skill that isn't commonly found. That becomes a commodity in the marketplace, technically. Oh, you want to learn to be a juggler? Well, you're going to have to tip me, 5,000 gold in order for me to teach you to be a juggler. There's that level of players can do that with the dynamic,
That's one of those places, and I'm sure a lot of people are going to hate to hear me say this. That's one of those situations where I do kind of like open PvP, just because it actually gives you the mechanism to really, apply coercion to something. It's like, look, you teach me that skill, or we're pretty much going to make the rest of this game for that character hell. So, what's it going to be, buddy? Teach me juggling now, or an eternity of damnation later?
No, I'd be that guy. I'd be that guy who'd be like, F you, come bring it. I'll juggle this shit on your face.
Pretty interesting to see if that's the sort of thing. I really don't think we're actually going to be able to do that, especially if it's a PvE server, to be like, hey, no, you teach me the skill now.
Yeah, that brings us to earlier what we were talking
Yeah.
about. And SOE knows from years and years and years of practice that, you may get that kind of bullshit in H1Z1, but you're not going to see that in Next or Landmark. That's for sure.
Only to some extent in H1Z1. Everybody's James Bond MacGyver. Everybody's a physical specimen that can learn everything, do everything, craft everything, and use everything.
Well, I watched the live stream they were doing while you guys were actually out there partaking of the awesome. We got to watch the live stream, and they made it clear that they understand that they're the first week it's going to be a giant gank fest. Everyone's going to be killing everyone, but they're all going to quickly figure out that if you kill everyone around you, you're just much easily killed. I can talk tonight by the zombies, and that really to survive you need to be able to team up with people. And hopefully that behavior will merit its way out, but they're not going to do that in a game like this. That's not really where we're at.
Right. Trap chest. Oh man, yes. Definitely being able to put traps on chests. Actually, that's something I want to see in Landmark. Even some sort of a interesting build where I even like a memory sort of game, like if you don't open the 2 correct chests in order, it makes you blow up or something, but if you play the matching game and you get all the matches correctly, you win some super special prize. I kind of think of the card flipping game from Super Mario 3. Do you guys remember that one?
Wasn't a big Super Mario fan, so I wasn't paying attention. A Mario Kart?
It was Super Mario 3 for NES. You'd have this event. There'd be, I think, 3 rows of 8 cards, and you would have, if you match cards, you would get the oh no, Adam's the one dropping out. I'll wait for him to come back.
I is here.
Oh, okay. Well, video's not coming back. Anyway,
I'll try and turn it on.
long story short, it's a matching game, and I'd love to be able to make that in Landmark with chests.
Yeah.
And if you die, or if you choose wrong, you explode.
That's a good point. Let's see. Anything else? What are we looking at for time here? We got about what, 15 more minutes, 20 more minutes?
Yeah, I mean we can go. I think as long as even 30. They ran for a little while.
I'm glad you have plans for my whole night.
No, we can because I guess it is kind of getting late. They went really long with the workshop show.
Well,
and even
I'm just
with
looking at
that,
the notes. We're getting to the end of the notes. We don't need to hyper dissect too much about the workshop show. So if you got something you want to talk about from the workshop show, now's probably the time to dive into it.
actually, the thing that I really want to talk about is the Steam sale, because I know there was a lot of uproar in the community over it.
There's a Steam sale?
There was a Steam sale on Monday and Tuesday. The Trailblazer and in fact, I think all three of the Founders Packs, and then the upgrades from like Explorer to Settler, and Settler to Trailblazer, they're all discounted by 66%. Yeah, they're $33 to Trailblazer.
Well, I still wouldn't be able to spend the money, but I'm kind of glad I didn't know about it. I feel bad.
But yeah, that and it was Steam only. It wasn't on their website, so that bugged a lot of people in a lot of different ways. Now, Brass kind of hit me back on Facebook about it. I kind of thought the timing was a little bit interesting, and that basically her response was that Steam, Valve, they do the discount sales on their own schedule.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
I really thought that.
They do it. Yeah, they do it on their own schedule. They do it on their own time. I don't know if they force people to have sales, but SOE definitely wanted this sale, and they were really happy about it. I actually, I had a bunch of new people, like 10 or 15 new faces that I'd never seen before, come in during Castles and Crap Shacks. So
Nice.
It was definitely a good way to get more people in. And now, where people are having some issues with it, oh, looks like you froze up for a second. No, we're good. Where people were having some issues with it is the idea that, hindsight causing rage, that I bought my Trailblazer how long ago, and I could have just, got a cheaper pack and upgraded now, or, just gotten unlimited beta key from someone, or whatever it would be. And I can definitely understand, people being upset about it. I would have loved to have been able to buy 3 Trailblazers for the price of 1, but at the same time, we are supporting a work in progress. Even if it's a AAA studio, every penny counts. And if they actually did start running out of resources before getting the game to where they wanted, they would be forced in a position where they'd either have to release something that they aren't happy with, or they would have to start really digging into the red and
Or, I mean, really, in real sense, it comes down to they saturated the player base. They got as many folks out of these are the people who are interested up front base. Okay, we've got those folks, and they've been playing. And some of them are taking breaks, and they may need to replenish the ranks, so to speak. And so now it's like, well, how do you do that? Well, it's been out long enough. We need to do the price cut thing.
But once again, the sale, the discount, I believe both the price and the timing was all on Valve's side. I don't believe
Well,
SOE
then
had a
there's
hand in
nothing
it.
to complain about. Yeah,
Exactly.
if Valve decided it was time for that to be on sale that week, that is the price you pay for having your stuff up on Steam. You sometimes got to go with, oh, we had 2 days of great sales because everybody was buying the game for $5 a whack, or whatever it was,
But ultimately, I'm okay with it because we're getting a lot of new faces in. We're getting
Yeah.
a new infusion in the community, and we're getting people who know what Landmark is or know enough about it to get on it before while it's still at a discount, before all the awesome
Yeah.
stuff comes through in less than a month. So
Yeah, get these folks kind of used to the idea of what the game is now, so they can roll with the changes when they happen.
Yeah. Like I've got a bunch of beta keys that I'm waiting on the combat and all of that interaction stuff to come through before I really.
Because there'll be a
Yeah.
huge peak in interest again when
Oh
that
yeah,
happens. Yeah,
absolutely. And just as much, like a lot of my friends, I'm like, look, dude, I really want you in a Landmark. Various
but
people
now's
I've
not the time.
Yeah.
There's nothing to do.
There's people I've played a lot of games, Legends of Might and Magic, the game where the legendary and legendary neurotoxin comes from. I want to rebuild some of those maps in Landmark and turn them into PvP arenas. They were actually pretty solid maps.
Yeah.
So that's and the people from that community, we still have the Legends of Might and Magic community around. It's maybe about 50 meager people hanging around still, and we mostly communicate on Facebook. But we have our own like 3 or 4 private servers up at all times. GameSpy is dead, and we still host our game. So, being able to get those folks in, but then the idea that other communities, will be able to start getting more people in when combat gets in and when the real interesting stuff comes in. We're going to see a giant boom. We're going to see crap shacks again for the first time in a while. I hope you guys realize that.
But
I take no. Go ahead.
I feel like I got my money's worth. I mean, if I waited until now, that would be like a whole year that I didn't want to wait. I would have had to wait 8 months from when Alpha started. Well, what, 6 or 7 months? So I didn't want to wait 6 or 7 months. It's money well spent, and I get my name in the credits. I'm fine. And the other people are coming in 8 months later, 8 months to a year later for cheaper. That's okay.
Yeah.
I paid to get in early. I got in early. That's what I wanted.
My goal was to understand Player Studio and start getting into that stuff early so I could actually start making money, make more money back from Landmark than I put into the $100 investment for the Trailblazer. And so far, I don't see any reason why I won't be able to execute on that. I don't know if the second quarter check is going to be coming to me this month, or if I'm going to have to wait another quarter for all of my aggregate sales of all my different stuff across different games will actually come through. But that was one of the main reasons why I got in on the ground floor, is so that way I would be able to understand the system and be able to be competent in making things that are worthwhile, as well as also being able to influence change with the game and help make it the game that we want it to be. Like Felgon finally being able to go through and rescale all the materials so they scale 1-to-1 with voxels. I've wanted that forever. The fact that I was able to help facilitate that change, I feel really good about that, because all of the builds since then have increased incredibly in quality and what they've been able to do with materials. So I think that was more or less the last subject for us to talk about. Is there anything else either of you guys wanted to talk about before we get into our wrap-up? Alright.
No, I mean, definitely as far as the builds we saw this week, there was a lot of specific feedback for folks. I thought 1 or 2 of them were really right on the money. For dear goodness sakes, people, take screenshots when the sun is out. Do you know how hard it is to see stuff in those nighttime shots?
Actually,
That's my advice. That's all I have to say about the workshop show today. Thank you.
So H1Z1 during, I think it was Gold Glove and OM something over C squared or whatever. Their H1Z1 stream, one client was daytime, one client was nighttime, but they were right next to each other. So it's possible. It might have been a sync-up issue right then, but it would be possible to actually give us the ability to adjust the lighting just on our client, so that we can take better, day or night or time of day screenshots.
I believe that's part of the plan, is to give us those microcontrols on our claims to be able to set like weather and atmosphere and soundtrack and yeah.
Cool. Yeah, so that's all out of me. And if you guys are all out of stuff, then we will get into our wrap up here, and we'll have as long as we want with it, because I don't think we're even close to the 2 hour limit for this specific clip.
Yeah.
So, of course, you all know who I am. Legendary Neurotoxin.
He's legendary.
Yep, I am. In fact, I was told that I was a celebrity, and that's how I got the PS2 hat at the Block Party event. But yeah, I am actually 23 hours into my 30-hour live stream. I feel a little bit more awake now, so hopefully I'll be able to follow through with those last 7 hours, but we'll see. And of course, live feature rant, dead feature rant, procedural powerhouses, castles and crap shacks, Unity Daily, Steam Daily, and coming soon, it's going to be a Planet Side 1 show on Thursdays, but I don't know the exact specific time and details because that's still being worked out. So just keep in tune for that, and it'll get going when it gets going. Now, Adam, why don't you kind of talk about what you've been working on here, and what you're up to, and where people can find you, and all of that stuff.
Twitter, AT0MXII, and my YouTube channel. I got a bunch of stuff going on over there. So check that out, youtube.com/AT0MXII. It's pretty simple, pretty easy to find, and give it a subscribe button. There you go.
All right. And Dygz, why don't you give us your little wrap up here and what you're all about?
You can find me in the forums. You can find me on Twitter. You can find me in other people's streams, even though I'm usually not streaming myself. I do have a little RPG project that I'm working on based off of an idea that Sog had to try and get role-playing started in Landmark now. So coming up with some story ideas, and hopefully something will happen down the road. That's it.
Awesome. Well, thank you all for coming here. This has been episode 25 of Live Feature Rant, and we will see you next week, but not the week after because it's SOE Live, but the week after that we will be back. So keep in tune, and I will see you later.
Happy birthday.
Yay.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.